The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Night, iRacing V8 Supercars Official Series. It's round number 9. It is Sebring International Raceway for what is going to be a very crucial race in the championship hunt, especially after the tragedies that befell Brett Loxton in the last race at Brands Hatch, where he managed to get himself disqualified. He is up against it here tonight to make sure he can put some pressure back on Sam Blacklock, who is currently running away with this championship just a little bit. But we saw last night in the Scops round that Sam is not undefeatable here at Sebring, and mistakes are always possible, especially with a 30-degree track and a very tough track to master. Because, of course, Sebring, with multiple different surface variations throughout, means the car is constantly sliding, constantly on the edge of grip, as the drivers are currently in qualifying right now. I'm Bobbit. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. Zachary Hanlon with Scott Fountain in the director's booth. And Zach, we're back once again at Sebring, and this circuit always puts on a fantastic show.
Yeah, well, there are so many bumps around here that can really throw things into a bit of an awkward situation around here. And a lot of the drivers tonight are going to be experiencing that for the most part, especially as you come through the final corner around here at Sebring. It's just so bumpy, and it's, you know, built on an old airstrip for the American Air Force, I believe, back in the 50s, and been running races here ever since. So it's a very bumpy place, and it's very technical, and especially in a V8 supercar, it's just so difficult to get the power down and get the car to react the way you want. And especially, you know, these cars are very sketchy under brakes, they're very sketchy on throttle, and those bumpy surfaces are really going to make it quite difficult for all of our drivers here this evening. Luckily for them, though, 30-degree track temp as it stands right now, so not too hot. We'll be able to keep those tire temps under control for the most part, but it's definitely going to be a challenging evening for all involved.
Yeah, it definitely will. And I was talking to some of the Trans-Tasman racing drivers just before this race, and they said one of the big talking points going into this race would be fuel strategy. It's 29 laps, but fuel is going to be so tight, and they thought that the race would all come down to a 3-lap window, kicking off on lap 15. And from that point on, it was going to be very marginal if you could make it to the end. And Sam Blacklock and Kurt Stenberg both said that a little bit of fuel saving could be required if you do decide to go on lap 14. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because so many times in these races we have seen strategy be the deciding factor at the end of the day. So this series putting on another tough strategy call for the drivers. So it's not just down to what kind of lap times you can do, but that is exactly what we're looking at the moment as the drivers are making their way on their very first qualifying laps. And Zach, this circuit is a little bit longer than most circuits we see. Normally we see laps in the minute 20 range to a minute 30. A lap at Sebring, though, you're well over 120 seconds.
Yeah, it's not a particularly long track. It's only 6K. I mean, by some standards, that is fairly long. But just not a very high average speed around here. Down the front straight, down the back straight, and through the S's section towards the back of the lap. Does get a little bit quick, but for the most part, it's very, very slow speed corners. You look down at the hairpin down at, I believe, turn number 6. Extremely slow corner, possibly one of the slowest corners you'll ever encounter in a car. So it doesn't have a high average speed, but definitely does push out those lap times. We do have 29 laps here this evening, so that's going to be pushing us close to the hour mark as we do see now the first of the time starting to fly up on the board. And so far, it's Evolution Racing Team's Ethan Grigg Gold, car number 1 in position number 1 as it stands at the moment. Wayne Burke as well has shot up a pretty nice time there, sitting himself in P2 as it stands, and Sam Sutton very closely followed by ERT's Cooper Webster as well. So some very good close times here from the top 6 cars, but a couple of guys still yet to do a lap, and they've also got a second lap they'll be able to just squeeze in before the end of this session as well.
Yeah, they will, absolutely. But that second lap is always going to be a little bit more tricky as the tyres do begin to go off. But the ERT definitely with a strong showing at the moment with 2 cars in the top 5, which is a great result for them. And especially after last night in V8 Scops, where if you don't want any spoilers, block your ears for just 10 seconds. Because, of course, Ethan Grigg got involved in a lot of incidents, really ruined what was going to be a great showing for him. But it was capitalized in the end by Cooper Webster actually being able to take out the second race, of course, with the reverse grid format. And that is a huge boost for such a young driver to be winning a race in top split V8 Scops, which is arguably the most competitive V8 Supercar Series in online racing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and a credit to him because, you know, I think we can say both that we're fairly accomplished drivers ourselves, and we've both attempted to have a go in the V8 Scops series, and we are absolutely rubbish. And to see someone as young as Cooper is doing so well in his first years in his hopefully for him his racing career, it's very positive to see, and it's also just good to show that you can use these tools to really propel yourself forward. And he's mixing it up with guys who have been racing these things for years and years, and now he's got himself into a position where he's with a good team. He's got Ethan and 40 and quite a few other guys who are fairly good in the V8, so he can work with them to try and push himself forward. But definitely very cool to see such young talent being able to get up there in the main game and make a difference.
Yeah, it definitely is, and he's with another a good showing at the moment, still inside the top 5 as the rest of the drivers just filing in and getting their second lap times on the board at the moment. So everyone's still finding their feet around this circuit, which is not the easiest track to hook up a lap, and a couple of drivers still on their first lap trying to make it count, the likes of Kurt Stenberg and Thomas McMillan. In fact, McMillan's not going to get a lap time, so for Thomas McMillan, it wasn't the best, or he wasn't able to compete last night in the V8 Scops, of course, due to a few little issues. But unfortunately, it's not going to be a good night for him either in the officials. He's not going to get a lap on the board. One driver that could is Kurt Stenberg, but he's only got 17 seconds to make it out of the Exeter Sunset Bend, which is a very tricky corner, and register a lap time. And Zach, I'm just not sure if he's going to make it. It's going to be ultra close.
It's going to be very tight. I don't think he's going to make it either. 5, 4, 3. Nah, there's absolutely no chance. So unfortunately, for TTR's Kurt Stenberg, he's going to be starting near the back of the grid, along with Mario Vlasic, Thomas McMillan, and Damon Mulqueen, who all haven't been able to set times. But of those that were able to set times, Ethan Grigg Galt was the best, and he takes out pole position for tonight's race at Sebring. He's joined by championship-elect Sam Blacklock, and the defending champion at that puts himself up into position number 2. Wayne Burke followed very closely behind those two starts from 3rd position, and Sam Sutton will join him on row number 2 of the grid in position number 4. Cooper Webster, man, we were just talking about earlier, will start 5th on the grid alongside Jackson Harlow, who is a name that I'm not very familiar with, and in car number 28. Be interesting to see what Jackson's able to do from that position. Jordan Ross starts 7th. Chris Coxhead lines up alongside him in 8th. Brett Loxton's going to have a bit of work to do out of 9th position. And Brett Cananzi, our local drifter, is going to be starting out of position number 10.
Kicking things off for the 6th row of the grid will be Ross Rizzo, and he is joined by Harley Haber, with Brian Borg, Jay McKnight, and Christian Smart rounding out our top 15 cars here of what is a huge grid of 32 cars. The next few includes Craig Jones, Jacob Knight, and Guy Leach rounding out to the 9th row of the grid, with Michael Taliancic and Carl Stokes, your top 20.
And then we have a Greg Sharp, Zach Baker starting 21st and 22nd respectively. Mitchell McLeod and Martin Silvassi 23rd and 24th. Chris D'Angelo will start from 25th. Mihail Ladishov out at 26th. And Stephen Varga and David Miller will round out the last of our cars that completed a lap. Then we have Kurt Stenberg, Mario Vlasic, Thomas McMillan, and Damon Mulqueen, who will all start from the back of the grid, having not set a lap. But we do have 32 cars on this grid ready to go, and it is going to be an excellent race this evening.
Yeah, definitely will. All the cars just about lined up, hearing a few cars getting into gear now as we prepare for the long run into turn number 1, and the revs will begin to rise on round number 9 of the Monday Night Official Series, and it's a very small hold on the lights, and we're already away. That's a great start from ERT's Ethan Grigold, who jumps out already, but look in the background, 3 wide already knocking mirrors off each other's cars as they now funnel into the ultra high speed turn number 1, where contact can be made and positions also lost as they all make their way out. You can see a few cars running wide, even Jay McKnight almost doing a bit of rallycross as they're all darting around in the background, but so far so good for our race leaders. And they funnel into this much slower complex of corners where cars can get tangled up a little bit more. So far the field being extremely well behaved, which is fantastic to see. And so far we do have a race in our hands. One of the TTL cars gets a little bit of a moment there. That's Sam Sutton, and he's going to lose a spot immediately to Jackson Suzlin Harlow, who of course does a little bit of karting in the real world and immediately getting some pace in the V8 Supercar here on iRacing as well. So he's going to try around the outside, which can be done at the hairpin, but not going to happen on lap number 1. It's getting very close in the background, including for Brett Loxton with a huge slide there for one of the Redback Racing Team cars. I believe that's Hartley Haber, as we're going to go 2 by 2 in the background. Very close racing, including with Ross Rizzo, who's trying to fight off Brett Cananzi. They funnel now into this hard braking zone, and this is one of the corners where you can make past the stick on the outside and the inside, and for Brett Loxton, he's going to make it happen on the outside.
Yeah, nice job defending there from Harley, who just got a bit of a run out of that hairpin there. There's a couple of cars which have gone off. Thomas McMillan got a little bit of a bump, as did, I think it was Michael Taliancic as well, got a bit of a bump out of the hairpin there. But Harley Haber still on the attack here on Brett Loxton, who's defending a little bit as they come through this S's section. It is very difficult around the track here. We do have a car off in the back. I think that's Craig Jones, who's just gone off, which is very unfortunate. He started in 16th position, so very unfortunate there for Craig. But Ethan Grigold got off to a very nice start, but Sam Blacklock definitely not leaving this battle alone. He's very close as it stands at the moment.
Yeah, and so is Jordan Ross, who's in a big battle with Jackson Harlow at the moment as they final their way. And look in the background for Chris Coxhead. He was doing a little bit more drifting than he would have liked, but Jackson Harlow already getting very attacking into turn number 1. Looks up inside of Jordan Ross, but isn't quite able to make it happen. There's room left there by the Synergy Sim Racing driver. And oh, that was Brett Loxton, I believe, or one of the KRF Motorsport cars going for a big motor turn number 1 and another car around. And we'll see who that was. It was one of the Redback Racing Team cars that actually went off into the fence on the inside of turn number 1 with the KRF car as well. So 2 cars involved there, so a big disaster there. And the car that did go off was Loxton, but there was another car on the inside as well for the Redback Racing Team, but Loxton almost involved in another scrap as well on the exit as they funnel their way onto the hairpin. And he is a long way away from where he needs to be in this championship fight. This is a disaster at the moment for Brett Loxton, currently 2nd in our championship.
Yeah, Brett's always someone gets very close to the back of him there. But yeah, Brett's been having a pretty poor run of luck recently. It seems like every time he gets himself into a decent position in his championship, he just starts pushing a little bit too hard, and or he just gets mixed up with a couple of other cars, and he's actually gone round. He's lost it. Oh, he's just managed to keep it pointing forward. I think he got there was another car off further ahead of him. I think it was another
Redback Racing car.
Yeah, it's hard to say who it was, but I think he might have just fallen off in sympathy there. Did Brett Loxton, and managed to just keep it all straight. But we've got Mario Vlasic and Michael Taliancic just behind them having a bit of a go. And Michael not going to be able to do anything about that. But Martin Silvassi
Oh, look at Harlow at the moment. He's getting very scrappy, and he's lost another spot to Chris Coxhead, so he's not going in the right direction at the moment. A great qualifying performance, but it's not going to plan at the moment for the driver that we don't see too often in the Monday Night Official Series, but not having a great time of it as well. As we see in the background, we do have the driver Kyle Stokes involved with a battle with Christian Smart. He gets the move done at the inside, but with the 1004 lines, he can take through Sunset Bend. You can make something happen around the outside, but it doesn't quite happen for Christian Smart because he's under a bit of attack now from Mitch McLeod. But look at Carl Stokes. He's on another mission, and he could potentially have a bit of a look here on Guy Leach into turn number 1, but decides to sit behind a little bit more and just save his tires, because tires will be a big factor here, Zach, because, of course, different surface changes means the grip will be constantly going away.
Yeah, a lot of the track surfaces around here, you can actually see if you're looking at the surface, like there's a lot of really light track surface in some areas around the corners, and those have a lot of grip, but they're also quite abrasive as opposed to the darker areas of the track. But that's definitely something that those guys are going to be considering when they're going around these corners, and also when they want to make overtaking maneuvers and stuff like that. They can force their opponents onto the dirty side of the track or onto the bit that doesn't have the best amount of grip. You might be able to trick their opponents into making a mistake or just losing grip in general. But it's a nice clean start for the most part at the beginning of the race at the moment. But I'll just get you to take it away, Bo, because I'm just having a couple of troubles with my cameras right now.
No, absolutely no worries at all, because one camera we should be focusing on right now is the one that involves the Battleford first, second, and third, because this is closed up just a little bit. They have not managed to get away from one another, and Ethan Grigault not quite escaped in the way we might have thought, and Sam Blacklock also coming under a bit more pressure from Wayne Burke, who is really fast at the moment, really doing a good effort in the Synergy sim racing car, and just not able to find a way past, and actually looks like he's losing a little bit of speed in a straight line as well. So bit interesting to see just the differences in between how TTR, ERT, and Synergy Sim Racing all develop their cars, and also Cooper Webster doing a great job once again, just lurking in the background. So if anything happens to any of these top three, well, he's going to be in the position to steal a podium away. And well, despite having 32 cars, it's a pretty big strength of field as well, so championship points will be a big factor here. Of course, not for Ethan Grigault. He hasn't contested enough rounds, so he's not in this championship fight. But Sam Blacklock is, and he's in the fight for first as well, as he continues to get closer and closer into the braking zone. So Sam really got good pace at the start of the lap, but just falls away a little bit in the middle. So very large differences in between the cars at the moment, as Ethan will come through and lead yet another lap. But Harley Haber is involved in a fight as well, because he is just trying to get past the driver Brett Cananzi at the moment, who's very well known for his drifting, but also pretty darn good at keeping his car in a straight line in a V8 Supercar as well. A lot better than I am, at least. And Cananzi just able to pull away in this slow section of corners. But Harley Haber always been a very quick driver and knows how to make moves happen, especially in the last few weeks, where he's just controlled his driving style down just a little bit, as we now focus on Michael Taliancic, who is trying to get past Mario Vlasic, who's been a regular of this Monday Night Official Series, and probably isn't getting the results that he quite deserves. A lot of experience in this car, so knows how to pedal it, but just not able to make anything happen. As we're looking on board at the moment of Michael Taliancic's Pursuit Sim Racing car down to the inside. He will think about it. Big braking move, goes very deep and almost runs it a little bit too wide. As you can see in the background, Thomas McMillan, of course, started last in this race, trying to buy into this battle as well. So he's trying to make progress a little bit sideways, though, as he heads into the tower complex of corners, and really doing a good job at the moment to keep his car clean. And so many times in these races, we've seen drivers who have to start down the back, just be a bit too aggressive and damage their car too early. But McMillan really doing a fantastic job of keeping it clean.
Yeah, well, McMillan actually, on the first lap at about turn number 3, he actually got spun around. So he's been in the wars already, but luckily for him, not carrying any damage as it seems. And as you've said, Bo, he's progressing quite nicely at the moment, up 7 positions from where he started in 31st. So sure, he's got some good speed in that ASM Motorsports car. But McMillan now, actually, as we say that, goes down the inside of Mario Vlasic. So maintaining plenty of speed is Thomas McMillan, and he moves himself up 1 more position. And the next man that he's going to be looking at is Michael Taliancic, who's had a few troubles himself this race. So those guys will probably look to work off each other. But now Brett Cananzi is having a little bit of a battle there with Harley Haber, and Harley Haber very sideways on the exit of that corner there, doing a good job to gather it all up. But now Brett Cananzi is going to have an opportunity, and he looks down to the outside as they come into the hairpin. Who's going to be the latest on the brakes? Brett, not quite as late as he could have been, decides just to tuck it back in under, go for the nice exit out of the hairpin, and that'll give him a nice run up to the next section of corners where you can get up the inside. You can try and do something there, but as you said, Bo, you can go either side round here. It doesn't really matter. You can make it work either way, but unfortunately, Cananzi just not quite close enough there to make anything work.
No, you do have to be a little bit closer than he was, and he's still sliding the car around a bit, and so is Harley Haber, so maybe a little bit of tandem drifting battle to ease the tension in this 29-lap race where fuel will be critical. So if you jump on board with a few of the cars, I wouldn't be surprised if you just heard a couple of them just fuel saving a little bit to make sure that they're good to the end of the race. And Sam Blacklock right underneath the rear wing of Ethan Grigol, and I would not be surprised if that's what he's doing, although he's taking some racing lines to try and get a much better run down this back straight to try and make an attack on Ethan Grigol. Too far back at the moment, but I will just ride on board just for a second here with Sam Blacklock to see if he is going to lift off a little bit. And there you go. He lifted off about 50 meters before the braking point. So already in this race, drivers thinking about how they're going to get to the end of lap 29. Because of course, leading the race at lap number 5 or 6 is a great thing to have, but leading at lap 29 is just a little bit better.
Yeah, but I mean, as you said, Bo, we've seen a lot of races this not just this season, but this year, really come down to thinking about the strategy from the get-go. We saw, Wayne Burke at Watkins Glen do some really tricky stuff with a two-stop strategy, going quite. I believe he went quite long or quite short in the first one, quite long in the middle one, and then brought it all back at the end and really made it work. And we've seen similar strategies from many drivers throughout this season. So Sam Blacklock, he's got a championship under his belt, so he can definitely say that he's fairly experienced in these, and he's already thinking about the game plan for the end of the race, and saving that little bit of fuel. And especially considering how close he is tucked up behind Ethan Grigol at the moment, I don't think that's going to be hurting him in any way, shape or form, and that's the best thing he could be doing right now. It's interesting that these guys, these top 4 drivers, are still very close within each other. Is actually Sam Sutton just behind, loses a position there to Jordan Ross as he makes his way up into position number 5. So we'll just get a replay of that for you, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice clean pass there by Jordan Ross. So we'll see if Jordan, now that he's gotten past Sam, if he's able to break his way up to the back of Cooper Webster, because that train at the front, all cars separated by just 1.3 seconds as it stands at the moment. And the pace is all fairly good, but as we've seen, have been doing a bit of fuel saving. So maybe Jordan will, put caution to the wind and just put a few good hard laps in here, see if he can catch up to that group ahead of him. And it looks like Sam Sutton is trying to maybe make a way back past, or just trying to really keep on to the back there and try and move up with Jordan.
Yeah, he is, and that's the best thing to do if you do get past, is just try and put pressure on a bit. As Sam, I was just hearing a bit of an issue from our technical director. That's okay, as we're actually still having a bit of technical issues on our end as well, so apologies for that. But you're absolutely right about Jordan Ross, because on the last few laps, it's actually been drivers outside the race leading pack that have set the fastest lap of the race. Of course, that's just been ruined on this last lap by Ethan Grigol, who sets the fastest of the cars on this time around. But for Jordan Ross, if he just gets a couple of good laps in, he can definitely catch the leading quartet of cars at the moment. So let's not forget, on Friday night in the AOSC, Jordan Ross was lightning fast. That Synergy Sim Racing car was hooked up, led the first lap comfortably until he had a slight issue with blowing his gearbox up on the second lap. But he had good pace, and he could prove that once again he can lead races from the front. And so many times we've seen Jordan Ross be able to win these Monday Night Officials Championships. And I believe we even said at the start of the season, Zach, that if he can just hook an entire season up, there's no reason why he could not end up as champion. Oh,
absolutely not. I mean, we saw fantastic. He's put on some fantastic performances, and especially one that really comes to memory was Daytona earlier this year, where we had the top 3 cars, spoiler alert, finished within a tenth of a second of each other, and we almost thought that he was going to win that and just managed to miss out. But he don't remember where he won, but I know he did win not too long ago. And if he can just get a little bit more speed out of the setup in that car, he's obviously got his teammate in Wayne Burke 4 odd seconds up the road. So if he can just get a little bit more speed consistently out of that car, you're absolutely right. A championship is definitely not off the cards for Jordan Ross. As it stands, though, he is making it very difficult to make inroads on the pack up ahead of him. See how he goes this time round, but actually does look like he could be closing. We'll see as he comes over the line here, because lap times are definitely the best indicators as to progress. So Jordan Ross comes across the line at 2:04.1, and the cars ahead of him 2:04.0s for all 4 cars ahead of him. So he's missed out by very minor amount there. He's only lost about 1/10 to the leader, but that just goes to show you. I'm just going to reel off a couple of numbers, for you, ladies and gentlemen, because it is pretty incredible. Ethan Grigol, 2:04.029. Sam Blacklock, 2:04.059. Wayne Burke, 2:04.038. And Cooper Webster is 0:04.037. So very close between all 4 of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. As Mitch McLeod finds himself in a bit of a scrap at the moment with Brett Loxton. And, well, Mitch McLeod got the move done, but Loxton isn't going to let that one go lying down because he's going right back to try and make a move happen on the talking driver. And around the outside is a difficult way to do it, but he's going to try it anyway. So late on the brakes, a little bit too late. Locks the rear brakes up, heading into the hairpin. Bit of a slide on the exit as well, but all that flashing and showing around in the middle of the corner just doesn't result in lap time. And Mitch McLeod very easily to drive away. Of course, a very experienced driver. We give him a lot of rubbish, but he is an incredibly quick racer on his day if he does practice. And, well, we all know he doesn't do practice anymore, but regardless, a great battle just in front as well, including Brian Borg. And Jay McKnight is a big dive up the inside for Brian Borg, very close between himself and the Evolution Racing Team car, very well held by the driver, Jay McKnight, who's just able to keep his nose ahead. And that now leaves Brian Borg just a little bit vulnerable to the doctor behind, and Guy Leach with that very good-looking number 13 car here today. Of course, would probably rather it be 46, but regardless, doing some very quick lap times at the moment, involving himself in another scrap, which continues to rage on here at Sebring. So lots of little mini packs, which is always very exciting races to watch when you just have all these little cars just grouped together in little bits and pieces. But it doesn't look like Brian Borg will be able to do anything into Sunset Bend, so we'll try and find our next battle on track. But at the moment, looks like everything's just calmed down a little bit, except for Zach Baker, of course, because he finds himself in a scrap looking very racy against the drive McMillan. So McMillan, his charge through the field's going pretty well, but Zach Baker isn't too fond of it at the moment because he's going to throw it up the inside at Sunset Bend, very close between the 2 Ford Falcons, and lockups for both of them on the front right as the tyre gets unloaded. Almost contact there as McMillan just trying to turn in, but there is a car there sliding on the exit for McMillan. Lucky not to touch the grass patch on the exit because that can very easily pitch your car into the pit wall very, very quickly. But for McMillan, he's already looking pretty racy. Thinks about it back into turn number 1. So he's not going to let this go lying down, but a bit of a slide on the exit, on the entry into the corner as well. So his car not quite set up how he would like, and a bit of a wiggle on the exit as well. So his car being pretty horrible, and his braking performance isn't much better as he has to go all over the curb on the inside to make something happen. Goes for the crisscross on Zach Baker, but Baker just able to hold off for now, but will compromise his exit. There was contact for a second, and that has just destroyed McMillan's run, and all of a sudden Mario Vlasic comes into play, but will have to do it the long way around the outside. We saw Brett Loxton try this and it didn't go to plan for him, but will Mario Vlasic and all his experience be able to do it a little bit better? The answer is no, because he's going to make contact with McMillan and now make himself vulnerable to the Redback Racing Team car of Stephen Varga, who gets onto the grass, which makes him vulnerable to Greg Sharp. So Greg Sharp as a knife, cutting his way through the field at the moment, makes himself up another place, but that is mid-pack racing at its absolute finest.
Yeah, that's great. And credit to McMillan. Oh, and Loxton and McLeod are having a go at it as well. It's all just starting to go off at the moment, but Mitchell McLeod right now just going around the outside of Loxton there. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do anything with that, and just has to start pulling it up a little earlier than he would have wanted. I mean, to take the very shallow line there. But yeah, this mid-pack battle, very cool. Zach Baker and Thomas McMillan pretty much getting as close as you would want to get through that final corner the last time by, and good respect to both of them for being able to pull that off. Now Ross Rizzo and Jackson Harlow are having a bit of a go as well. So Jackson's a driver we haven't seen very often. He's in the number 28 car, so he's definitely not one of the most highly ranked drivers out of tonight's field, but he's done a great job so far. Started 6th and is now going to lose 8th position, to Ross Rizzo, and he just cuts off Harley Haber there, who's also looking to get in on the action and work an opportunity out of here. And they're going to go and he actually, very nice driving there from Jackson Harlow. It's almost going to just all go, but they're all going to get through, and now they're going to go 2 by 2 by 2 into the hairpin, and Jackson Harlow definitely has the advantage here. We'll see how brave he's going to be under brakes. Ross Rizzo diving behind and trying to defend from, or trying to actually try and get past Brett Cananzi, who's weaving over the track. But unfortunately, Harley Haber not able to do anything on Jackson Harlow. So nice little move there from Jackson, and a big loser there for Ross. He's actually going to lose another position now to Brett Cananzi. So he's just gone all the way from 8th. Well, if he can hold on to it, he's got the inside line for the next corner here, and Haber's going to try for the challenge on the inside of the next corner, and Haber's got that one done, and it looks like Brett Cananzi is also going to get passed on Ross Rizzo as well. So lots of position changes there for you, but big winner out of that, Harley Haber, and the biggest loser for sure, Ross Rizzo. He just went from making a position to losing 3.
Yeah, that was a disaster for Ross Rizzo, and I've got to say, the Truck Sim Sports car looking pretty horrible to drive out there, just on big loaded braking zones. That car is just weaving all over the place, not weaving as much as Brett Cananzi's car on throttle, as he's going to come under all kinds of pressure from Ross Rizzo now as they head into Sunset Bend. So Rizzo just getting closer and closer and closer, and might think about making a move happen, but it doesn't quite happen this time around, as we just look for our next battle at the moment. So all the drivers really just searching around at the moment, as it's going to get very, very close. But we will turn our attention to Kurt Stenberg, who's not in the best position for him. Of course, had very strong pace in the Scops race just last night. TTR with a very strong showing once again. But unfortunately for Kurt Stenberg, just hasn't quite been his night at the moment, and are struggling to find his way past Steven Varga. He's finding himself struggling to even make Sunset Bend at the moment, but he does manage to get a bit of an overlap, and amazingly pretty good traction as well on the inside of the corner. So he will go side by side with Steven Varga across the line, ultra close between the two of them, if that was the end of the race. But unfortunately for Stenberg, he's got to do it a long way around the outside at turn number 1, which isn't always easy, but you can sometimes get a crossover. You can see he tried to do it, but Varga, all too wise, held it off and just blocks the inside as they're going to go side by side. And look how late Stenberg is, a little bit too late. Locks the rear brakes up a little bit, now has to go all over the grass on the inside. So go side by side into this little complex, which is so difficult to get one car through, let alone 2, and the curbs can bite. But Stenberg, very experienced, does manage to get the power down pretty nicely and make that move happen on Steven Varga. But you have to watch out for Greg Jones. As you can see there, he's going to try and make something out of this as well, as they're almost 3 wide into the braking zone as Varga tries around the outside of Stenberg. Doesn't make it happen though, and Jones trying to get himself in there, but it's just not enough as Varga lights the rear tires up. So does Jones. So just trying to get the throttle, and the car just bursting into wheel spin as it goes over all the different concrete patches here at Sebring International. And that allows Martin Silvassi into this battle as well now. And he's not a driver we see all too often in the V8 Supercar. He does have experience in it. Did even win a championship in the Red Pepper Series just a little while back. But for him, probably not where he would want to be, especially in a Truck Sim Sports car.
No, absolutely not. And he's actually dropped a few positions from where he started. So looking to make himself a little bit of a charge back through this field. But Martin, definitely a very talented GT driver. And having a go here in the V8 Supercars, very good to see. But now Brett Cananzi, further towards the front of the field, is having another look. Or in fact, Ross Rizzo has gotten past him. So Brett Cananzi is now, and he's hit the wall! Oh no, that is tragic for Brett Cananzi. And he may have he might have insufferable damage from that. The car's not looking particularly great as he came in he's looking very wayward after that incident. So he's bringing out the drifting skills, ladies and gentlemen. Although I have to say, he's gonna live with it. He's gonna make it work. But that thing does not look comfortable to drive at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if we possibly see Brett Cananzi being one of our first people into the pit and see if he can make some minor corrections to that car, which are going to help him out. But that was a massive moment coming out of Sunset Bend. I didn't think he was quite going to do that, but managed to just collect it ever so slightly. Harley Haber and Jackson Harlow still having a bit of a go as well. Jackson just having a bit of a look.
It's not over for Brett Cananzi as well. This is getting very ugly at the moment. Brian Borg having to defend massively from Guy Leach as well. And Cananzi cannot make a corner at the moment. It's almost 3 wide heading into this section of corners, which you can't be 3 wide at all, as they're still trying it. Cananzi's dropping through the order, but that was a very ugly moment. For just a moment there, as they're almost 3 wide. And we also have Brian Borg well and truly onto the grass as well. So these drivers, all kinds of... Oh, Mario Vlasic now with a massive accident as well. Big damage to his car with McMillan as they're going to go side by side. Big wiggle from McMillan as well. So I said he was driving through the field pretty cleanly. Unfortunately, his car isn't looking quite so clean this time around. As we also have Kurt Stenberg, I believe that is, trying to bind this as well. So they're still all scrapping away down the mid-pack. I do want to report as well, we have had a change for second in this race as well. Wayne Burke now in second ahead of Sam Blacklock. So an issue there for the TCR drivers. McMillan with a huge slide there, heading into the Le Mans complex of corners, and Vlasic could potentially make something of this. Contact is made, and around here we go. Almost collects Stenberg. Vlasic off into the grass. McMillan doing a massive slide on the inside as well. So massive damage to both cars there. But look at the checkup this is going to cause down the straight. There's going to be 101 moves heading into Sunset Bend. One of them's from Craig Jones, the other from Martin Silvassi. That one's already done, but Craig Jones not quite. Has to do it the hard way up the inside, locking the brake as well. Contact in the back. Vlasic gets dumped as Craig Jones still trying to make this happen. Bit of a slide on the entry as well with a much tighter line. Can't get the power down. And we saw what happened to Cananzi last time. Doesn't happen this time, but he's still got a good run in the slipstream this time around on lap number 13, heading into towards turn number 1, and doesn't look like he's able to make anything happen just yet. But if the car in front of Steven Vargas is going to lock up, that's all too easy, and Silvassi could buy his way into this as well. He decides to sit back just for a moment, but Craig Jones, fantastic ability to take advantage of a situation that was unfolding in front of him and really capitalize and make the positions where it counts.
Yeah, very cool moves there. But Thomas McMillan actually served up a little bit of revenge to Mario Vlasic, who's now fallen off. But Harley Haber, further up the field, is now having a little bit of a go with Jackson Harlow once again. And these guys have been fighting non-stop, and Jackson's actually made it through. So nice job there from Jackson Harlow. But he's going to get the run now, is Harley Haber, as they come down into the Le Mans section of the S's here. And he's just a little bit far back to make anything work right now. But if he can make it cleanly through this SS section, he's going to have a run down the back straight. And he is using some nice car control there to really open up that wide line. And now he's going to have a run.
Oh, big dive from McMillan up the inside, almost collecting Silvassi. So these two have not come down at all. Well, I say these two, it's about these 5 at the moment, as all the cars just condensed a little bit, but Silvassi still holding strong on the inside. But you know McMillan, if there's a gap, he'll go for it, and there's a gap up the inside. So there he goes, committed to the inside, but just not able to get far enough. Well, excuse what I say, because he's just gone past on the Trick Sim Sports car. So in the end, a great move from McMillan, who probably had it a bit easy against Silvassi. I think just being a little bit more cautious was the Trick Sim Sports driver, which is why he is so successful. But Mario Vlasic, with the damage to his car, he's not being very successful against the likes of Dave McQueen. Of course, I believe this might be his first top split strength of field race representing Synergy Sim Racing. So a great move for him. And then once again, a great move in the Sunset Bend as McMillan up the inside, trying to make it happen, as this is side by side, almost contact on the exit as well. So these guys not calming down even slightly. But in front, we do have Brett Loxton also managing to make his way past Carl Stokes. So a great move there. But this battle between McMillan and Silvassi, we've got the likes of Mo Queen and now Mario Vlasic, it is not coming down for a second, Zach.
No, these guys are going pretty hard, and I think we're getting to the point now where guys are going to be coming in for pit stops. So strategy is going to start playing out very shortly. And I'll be interested to see who starts coming in out of this pack here, because this pack is really where you can lose a lot of places if you don't come into the right time. So, and a couple of these guys are, they're getting pretty heavy with each other. There's been quite a bit of biffo, quite a bit of door-to-door contact, and there's a lot of passing, and they're just tripping up over each other at the moment. So, I would like to see a couple of these cars come in at the same time. This battle is very fun to watch, and I would like to see a lot more of that as well. But I think that for a couple of these guys, they're going to have to play the more cautious side and get into the pits sooner rather than later, because we're just about to tick over half a race distance now. And just a bit of an update up the front for you as well. It still runs as it did before. Ethan Grigol, Wayne Burke, Sam Blacklock, and Blacklock's actually in the pit lane now. So Cooper Webster had fallen off that pack just a little bit. He was 3.5 seconds off the leader. Jordan Ross was still maintaining roughly that gap that he had of about 4.5 seconds prior to that as well. But we do have a couple of cars now coming into the pits. We have Blacklock, Jordan Ross, and Ross Rizzo all in the pit lane now. We will give a little reminder to all of you watching at home. Fresh tires equals faster lap times, and faster lap times equal positions. So the guys on
here we go.
McMillan are really going at it once again into Sunset Bend, and Martin Silvassi manages to get past McMillan, who's going to come into the pits, as do a couple of people. I think that's Damon Mulqueen as well. Yeah, a couple of cars now starting to follow their way into the pits. So Ethan Grigol, Wayne Burke are really going to have to watch out for Sam Blacklock, because if Sam gets a nice outlap here, he could definitely overtake. No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. He's in traffic. He has to deal with Mihail Ladashov just in front, and with his pace, he might also have to deal with the battling duo Mario Vlasic and Jacob Knight in front. And in fact, Ladashov actually goes off the road, and lucky not to collect Blacklock there. So Blacklock dodges one lap's car, but that could have been damage for him there. But with the pace he has, and with the pace of McKnight and of course Mario Vlasic in front as well, there's every reason they could hold him up as well. So it's a great strategy for Blacklock, but pitting on lap 14 means that he does have to fuel save during this race, or in this final stint. So for him, he's got to do a much more fuel efficient run to the flag, whereas Ethan Grigol and Wayne Burke, who are going to pit this time around, or we would expect them to, well, they will be able to go a lot harder. So for Blacklock, he needs to capitalize on this outlap, and it's just not happening at the moment, because you can see he's already onto the back of Knight, who's actually not fighting it at all. So I'm actually surprised that they're letting Blacklock through. Of course, they don't want to hold up their own race, but it's still fighting for position. I would love to see that, as we would expect. Our two race leaders, now our 3 race leaders, with Cooper Webster joining them in the pits as well. But a very aggressive pit entry from Wayne Burke just gains him all the little bit of time. And that is going to help him, as these pit stops have so often won these official races.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how Sam Blacklock is going. We've having a bit of a look out. So there are more cars still filing onto the pit lane. There are actually a lot of cars on the pit lane now. Pretty much the entire rest of the field has
the seas have parted.
Exactly. So the seas have parted for Sam Blacklock. Not quite yet. He's still... Oh, he's bumped a car out of the way. I think that's Mario Vlasic. Who he was pushing out of the way as he came through Sunset Bend. So Sam Blacklock now crosses the start-finish line, and he's coming up to the first corner with a lot of speed. But Wayne Burke has pulled the cat out of the hat, or the rabbit out of the hat, and he has made a little bit of a trick there and gotten himself past both Blacklock and Ethan Grigol. Now, this is not the first time we have seen Wayne do this. He could have taken up possibly a little bit less fuel than those guys ahead of him. He's about 2-3 seconds faster in that pit stop than Ethan Grigol. So we'll have to see if he has any fuel saving to do for the rest of this stint, but he's got himself tracked position for the time being.
Wow, that's a big news story coming up in this race, as he's actually made a little bit of a mistake at the hairpin as well. It's not going to end his race by any means, but it is going to end his lead that was out to about 1.5 seconds. It's now closing down to about 1.4, 1.3 range. But with that much time saved in the pits, surely he is going to be, dare I say, at minus 100. We thought Blacklock would be tight on fuel, but Wayne Burke might just have to win this race the hard way. And for Ethan Grigol, well, he's applying so much pressure to the back of Blacklock at the moment. And although he's not where he was at the start of this race, in the race lead, it might not be all over at the moment, because the 2 cars in front do have to fuel save. He should, in theory, be good to the end. And you can see that he's definitely not fuel saving at the moment, getting pretty aggressive behind the TCR car of Sam Blacklock. And I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes a lot further out to the left here. In fact, Blacklock's the car that's going a bit further left, but he actually doesn't meet the apex how he would have wanted. Because I was going to say, Greg Gott will want to try and set this run up, and he has done that so close underneath the rear wing of the Trans-Tasman Racing hybrid racing simulations car. Pulls out to the right, and for Ethan Grigault down to the inside at Sunset Bend. 1,004 lanes you can choose to make your way through the corner, but he picks just about the right one to make a move happen on Sam Blacklock, who's going to try and set up the exit now, but I just don't think he's quite going to have the speed to make anything happen. He looks to the right as well, but I think that just about says, Ethan Grigault, I'm following you. Take us to Wayne Burke.
Yeah, he actually almost maybe didn't take it so wide on the entry. He might have actually been able to cut that back and make it work, but he could be wanting to follow the egg. So we'll have to see how those guys go. But Brett Cananzi, who's had a troubling time in this race, it just keeps on getting worse for him. He's having a bit of a biffo with Brett Loxton further back in the field, and he's actually not doing too bad, is Cananzi, considering where he was earlier and how much damage he sustained to that car. And now he's going to fire it down the inside of Loxton. Wasn't quite close enough there. Very generous of Loxton to give that racing room there, and Brett Cananzi able to just pull it up just in time to make the corner and not make an accident. So he's going to have to find a different approach to make his way past Brett Loxton. But they've got Kyle Stokes, who's starting to come up on them pretty quickly as well, and he's been looking in pretty good form, and he wants to make a move. Just up ahead of them, Brian Borg and Jamie McKnight are starting to come together as well, but there are just battle packs everywhere. Martin Silvassi down Damon Mulqueen is 3 seconds separating that group of cars, and Zach Baker to Kurt Stenberg just 2 seconds separating those 4 cars there. So there are so many little group and little battle packs on this track right now.
Yeah, there certainly was, and one of the big ones was for 25th position at the moment involving Steven Varga, but it did get 1 car shorter at turn number 1, unfortunately. It was only a minor little touch between, I think it was Steven Varga and Thomas McMillan, but unfortunately it was over 17 incident points for McMillan, so unfortunately he would be black flagged and disqualified from this race. We are down 1 ASM car in this race, which was a shame to see as he was making a great drive through the field, but nonetheless, Steven Vargas still having to defend because Silvassi getting very racy, as is quite a lot of this pack. As we look just a little bit further back, we have Jacob Knight getting pretty racy, Mihail Ladashov as well. So everywhere you look, these battles are absolutely fantastic to watch, as nothing happens between either of the 2 battles this time, with Sunset Bend probably the best passing opportunity on the entire circuit.
Yeah, a lot of guys have been making that work to their advantage, but also the setup for that is very important, and really getting through that last section of the track is really the key to that. But Cooper Webster now finds himself a little further back than, well, Ross Rizzo has somehow...
12 seconds slower pit stop for Webster.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. He possibly could have gotten a speeding in pit lane on the entry for that, and maybe just saved a little bit of fuel in the pit there to make up for that. He moves himself past Ross Rizzo, which I was very confused as to why Ross was up in 3rd position, but no longer is the case because, oh, sorry, he's not up in 3rd position. I've just got my timing all out of whack. But Cooper Webster moves himself up into 7th position. But he's, lost a lot of time to Sam Sutton, Chris Coxhead, and Jordan Ross. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do there. And very unfortunate for Cooper because he was doing a fantastic job just sitting inside the top 5 earlier.
As we now turn our attention to Mitch McLeod, who finds himself in a little bit of a scrap with Christian Smart. And while McLeod has to be smart about how he plays this battle, because Christian Smart, we've seen him in a few battles already tonight and already been pretty aggressive in his defense. So McLeod might not find the easiest pass at the moment. But Jackson Harlow has also found himself in quite a few battles, and so has Harley Haber. So these two are very warmed up. They know what to do in battle, but no moves able to happen at the moment. Just a bit of an update on what's happening out front. Well, I can tell you what's happening out front because Ethan Grigol is coming like a choo-choo train on the express line at the moment, right to Southern Cross Station, because he is flying. The gap was 2 seconds. It's already down to 0.8 of a second. We're on board at the moment through turn number 1, and you can probably visibly see just closing and closing as the Synergy Sim Racing car in front just gets closer at every braking zone, every turning point, every acceleration point as well, because he has completely left Sam Blacklock for dust in the mirror, and he just continues to gain, and there's no reason to think at the end of this lap he could potentially have a move going on into Sunset Bend.
Yeah, well, he's pulling up on him quite tremendously as it stands, and Ethan is a very aggressive driver, but also very fast, and he knows how to read these situations. We saw how easily he made his way past Sam Blacklock, who's defending series champion. So Ethan's definitely a man who knows how to get an overtake done. But Wayne Burke's a very tough customer, and he likes going for race victories, does Wayne Burke, as does Ethan. So I think these guys are going to be fighting very hard for this race win, and neither of them are going to give an inch more than they absolutely are required to. But it does seem at the moment that Ethan Grigol definitely has the upper hand at the moment, as Wayne Burke is just struggling a little bit, possibly. Also, we mentioned he's taken quite a little bit less fuel than Ethan too, so he's not going to be able to be on the loud pedal for as long for the second half of this stint. They still have 10 laps to go though, and that's plenty of time for Wayne to figure out a few ways that he can defend that position.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So for Wayne Burke, it's going to be quite a difficult challenge in the next few laps as Ethan Grigol does get himself within now just 0.2 of a second on my timing screen. Looks a bit more like 0.3 of a second on track at the moment, but 11th, 12th, and 13th is a little bit of a battle pack we noted before or earlier in this race, and it's still pretty close between these guys, so we'll see how this transpires over the next few laps. But I do think for now we should keep our attention on what's happening out front, because of course this is where the winners will be crowned. And Ethan Grigol, well, he wants to be a winner, and he is closing rapidly. You can see that it was 0.8 of a second at the line, just down to 0.3 of a second on this lap around. So another half a second taken out, and half a second is not a small chunk of time at all. He is flying, and well, he has to make sure he makes the move pretty clean though, because he doesn't want to battle too much with Wayne Burke and allow Sam Blacklock back into this fight. Because the one benefit he does have going for him at the moment is it is a one-on-one car fight, and you can see he's already getting just a little bit aggressive into the hairpin, just nosing out just a little bit, try and put pressure on us. We've actually just seen that Chris D'Angelo has found himself retiring from this race, and I'm not entirely sure. It might be technical issues just disappeared on the track, so we won't worry about that too much, but we will worry about what's happening out front, because all of a sudden Wayne Burke, well, he's got a bit of a blowtorch on the back of his bumper.
Yeah, absolutely. And half a second is, I mean, it's a fairly sizable chunk of time, but around a track like Sebring, where you have a 2 minute odd 2 second lap, it's not really all that much time. It's just 1 or 2 corners you kind of maybe get a little bit incorrect ever so slightly. So that just goes to show you the difference in speed at the moment between these guys. There's also a bit of a battle happening with Kurt Stenberg and Michael Taliancic and Zach Baker as well, because Zach Baker has going to have to defend very heavily here from Kurt Stenberg, who is moving all over the track to try and make something work. Not able to get something done this time. Michael Taliancic just behind, also trying to use the loud pedal very heavily, but just using it a little bit too much, and he's now just brought himself out of that pack. But Zach Baker's just going to get maybe a little bit of a love tap there from Kurt Stenberg, and he might even get another one here as they come up into the Le Mans S's, and Kurt Stenberg's going to try go around the outside, which is going to give him the inside line. He's going to have to be very brave on the brakes though, and too brave or not brave enough. He pulls out quite early, and Zach Baker will retain that position. Just up ahead of him, Greg Sharp, and Greg Sharp has been having a solid race, but not quite looking very strong at the moment. But Harley Haber and Jackson Harlow once again side by side into turn number 1, and it looks like this time Harley Haber is going to get the job done, but Jackson comes down the inside, and that's a big defensive move there from Harley Haber. I'm not sure that was so much of a defensive move there as that was a block, Harley. but he does maintain the
Oh,
position
Ethan
no matter
leads.
way. And
Ethan
there
leads.
we go. And we'll get a little replay of this for you, ladies and gentlemen, because Ethan Grigol has made his way past Wayne Burke, and it happened down into the hairpin, and it was very late on the brakes. He didn't even really come out all that much. Just as he was coming under the bridge, just really stuck it out there at the very last second, very committed on the brakes and pulled it up perfectly, and just got a very nice run. A little bit of side-by-side action as they came out through there. But we'll take you back to the live action now, because this battle between Jackson Harlow and Harley Haber is holding up at all. These guys are very close to each other, and Harley Haber is very committed on the brakes, but he's pulling it up just enough.
Yeah, this might be a little bit of an issue for Harley Haber at the moment. We used him being an aggressive driver. He's recently calmed that down, but unfortunately the hot temperatures here at Sebring International, of course, there's not much heat or temperature soaking up in the concrete. It's a bit more aggressive, and it might be getting to him as the red mist descends up the inside of the penultimate corner and almost into the side of Harlow, but in the end he's just going to go and get a massive wheel spin, and this is getting personal. This is getting ultra personal. Guys, that's not even the racetrack anymore. You're in an entirely new dimension of concrete, and he's going to throw it up the inside. This is not racing. This is complete madness. As they head into the Sunset Bend, this is going to be a crossover of Harlow up the inside, but Harley just completely shuts the door in the end. No way through, but lights it up on the exit. It's going to be on again at number one, as they're both completely struggling for grip. This is on for the second lap in a row. It's a complete 1-2. It's a complete repeat of what happened previous time. Just to a 1/100th of a second across the line is the margins these two are playing with. And like I said, it's getting personal now between these two. Clearly a bit of frustration between the two, and Harlow just diving up inside there, just filling the mirrors of the Redback Racing Team car. And we're going to stick with this battle for just a moment, because I won't be surprised if something might just happen into the hairpin here as Harlow tries to hold on to Harley Haber at the moment. This battle has been absolutely fantastic. Every millimeter of racetrack and a little bit more that I didn't even know existed has been used in this battle at the moment. You can see that Harlow just once again pulling out a little bit, just trying to fill the mirrors of Harley Haber, but not able to make it happen at the moment. So we'll see if there are any other battles happening on track. One includes Harley Haber at the Sam Sutton at the moment, who's trying to find his way past Chris Coxhead. And he had a big look there heading towards the tower complex, but he's going to come into this next section of corners, which is another great passing opportunity, because that TTL car at the moment has some fantastic pace.
Yeah, but Chris Coxhead, oh, Sam Sutton very close to looping it around there. But Chris Coxhead's got some really good pace in his car and has been moving forward fairly well, and he's just been getting better and better throughout this season. We saw him fighting at Interlagos with Riley Blythe for the lower place positions. I think it was 20th and 21st or something like that. And now he's up here in position number, I think now he is
6.
Position number 5, as he's made his way past Sam Sutton. So Chris Coxhead has been doing a fantastic job this race, and especially to make his way past Sam Sutton, who's a very experienced driver, is very good indeed. But Sam is not letting him go. Very close still to the rear bumper bar of Chris Coxhead is Sam Sutton, and feel like these guys are going to be battling it out for just a little while. But it's on for the lead once again, ladies and gentlemen, because Wayne Burke has not, he's actually picked up a bit of pace once Ethan's gotten past him. He's put the hammer down once again. Maybe he saved enough fuel, and it's now go time, but he's going to look for an opportunity to get past. I think he's a bit far back this time, and he is saving a little bit of fuel still, but he's just saving it in those areas where it's not as critical, you know, down into that hairpin there. Let off 20-30 meters earlier, you can still use your braking performance to not lose as much time. So he's being much wiser about where he's saving his fuel, and just very confident on the brakes compared to Ethan Grigol at the moment. Kurt Stenberg, though, he's, oh my goodness, Greg Sharp just up ahead, getting massively crossed up, and Kurt Stenberg looking for a way past him now. He gets a beautiful exit out of turn number 5, and that is just going to shoot him sailing past the outside of Greg Sharp, but Greg's not going to give him all that much room, and he's going to make him go the long way round. Kurt's going to hope that Greg's outbraked himself here, which he has, but he's going to check himself up just to avoid any contact there. gives them a little bit of a rub as they come down the straight, or the more or less straight. But Kurt Stenberg now has to back out of that one. Just a little bit too much contact there and too much risk of turning around his fellow competitor. But ladies and gentlemen, the action continues to be non-stop because Guy Leach is having a look on Brian Borg, who's having a look on Jamie McKnight, and Brian Borg goes down the inside, makes it work, but Guy Leach, what he does here, because he could make this work, and Guy Leach is going to go through on the inside. Bit of a rub there with Brian Borg, but Jamie McKnight amazingly able to hold on to his position, and now it's a drag race between Guy Leach and Brian Borg. Looks like Brian doesn't have quite as many ponies, but he's going to have the outside line. He's going to be very committed on the brakes. He's going to run the outside line. He's going to try and work and get that exit speed and go for turn number 1 down the inside, which he will have the line for. And they are still side by side, Brett Loxton and Brian Borg, but Brett just has a few more ponies under that. But Brian again under brakes, just goes for it, but locks the inside front there. He's going to have the inside line once again if he can keep it there, but Loxton may just be able to cover him off here. Great racing from those guys. Brian having another look, but I feel it's a little bit cheeky to really make that one work. Guy Leach now under pressure from Loxton as well. And McKnight just up ahead of these guys is laughing because he's driving down the road. He's not using up any of his tires, and these guys look like they could have a bit of an accident in the near future.
Yeah, they definitely do. Us once again just having a look at each other into the hairpin, and Loxton still thinking about it as they make their way to the apex. Some fantastic racing here at this race. It's been incredible to see just all the battles we've had and how close the competition has been as well. Another reflection of just how fantastic this series is becoming and how much stronger the competition is being if you want to call yourself a champion at the end of the day, as Guy Leach just locks up another inside front, but unfortunately no way through for any of the competition. But Wayne Burke still applying pressure at the back of Ethan Gregault as they head down to Sunset Bend, and this is the closest he's been in a while, so he could potentially go for a bit of a lunge here if he so feels like it, but saving fuel is the matter of the day for Wayne Burke, who carries so much corner speed. I thought for sure he's going off, but he makes the apex beautifully, so much so that he's almost given himself a run at Ethan Gregault as they make their way now, about to start lap number 25 here of 29. So we're down to the final countdown, lap number 5, and we will see what will happen here between Wayne Burke and Ethan Gregault right underneath the rear wing now of the Evolution Racing Team car. Was not able to make anything happen. So Harlow and Harley Haber are getting a little bit closer once again, but we'll stick with Wayne Burke and Ethan Gregault because this is just a little bit closer at the moment. And of course, the points are a little bit bigger for this one as well as they continue to scrap it out. And Ethan at the moment just doing exactly what he needs to do, just hook up the apexes where it leads into a passing opportunity, just braking late into those spots as well. And every time that Wayne Burke gets a run, Ethan is just able to cover it off in just the right way. But you can see Wayne Burke there just testing the limits a little bit, seeing how late he can brake and how late he can go without completely overshooting and heading off into the escape road that Sebring does have, which is quite nice, but you don't want to be exploring it too much. You can see still under the rear wing, but just not able to happen as they're getting closer and closer. Burke just about bumping the Evolution Racing Team car through some of these corners at the moment, which is fantastic to see. And at the moment, this is not over by any stretch. If you thought Ethan Gregault was going to run away with this one once he passed Wayne Burke, well, you are being proven badly wrong at the moment. Blacklock not able to make the inroads we probably thought he might have been with these two scrapping. As all of a sudden, Harlow and Haber are getting very close once again, a little bit too close, almost contact between the two, as Harlow's going to try and make a move happen and just lags out for just a little second there, but he's still right underneath the rear wing of Harley. Haber won't be able to make anything happen into this next section of corners, so we'll have to sit and wait a little bit, but these two are just playing for absolute keeps at the moment, which is fantastic to watch.
I think it might be on for the lead here, Bo, because Wayne Burke is going for a move. Ethan Gregault has to swing to the inside, very committed and late on the brakes. Round the outside is Wayne Burke. Can he make it work? He's going to try and run the outside line. Might be a bit of a rub on the exit here, but he's got the inside line into turn number 1. That's a nice exit there. Ethan Gregault just not able to make it work, and it seems like Ethan's doing a little bit of fuel saving as well. Both of these guys struggling to hit that fuel number, but right now Wayne Burke has taken the advantage and moved himself back into position number 1. Great driving from both of these guys, and Excellent from Wayne Burke not to give up and keep it in there, but Ethan Griggold is not going to let him go easy. Beautiful exit. Just gets it a little bit wiggly as he gets into the final stage of that exit, though. Kills a little bit of his momentum, but we've seen him come back from further. We're on board with Ethan Griggold. He goes down the inside on the brakes, and surely Wayne's going to have to give him some room here, or there's going to be contact. Now there's going to be a drag race up to the next corner. Struggling for grip is Ethan Griggold. Both of these guys, their rear tires are just absolutely gone. And Ethan's probably going to try and chuck it in there again, but he doesn't. He bails out early. And these guys have 3 more laps to sort out who's going to be on the top step of the podium. Oh, and Ethan just, oh my goodness, so much opposite lock as he was coming through that section of corners there. These guys are really going for it.
They absolutely are. Grip. What is grip? These guys are fighting for absolute keeps at the moment. Great to see between Wayne Burke and Greg Galt, as a Burke actually manages to pull out a bit of a lead at the moment, but unfortunately for Harley Haber, he's not building any kind of lead over Jackson Sulis and Harlow at the moment, who continues to apply pressure heading towards the tower section of corners. Once again, Harley Haber, that's not the direction you're supposed to be going in at all, and Jackson Harlow will be seeing that and just able to find out where the weak spots are, and at the moment, looks like the Redback Racing Team car is weak just about in all the traction points, not able to make the run that he needs. So if he can, Jackson can hook up the exit heading through into Sunset Bend, this might just be his very best opportunity, as no moves happen for our race lead this time around. So it will be 3 laps to go between those two, but we'll see what happens here between Harley Haber and Jackson Suzlin Harlow, because once again, Harley not able to get the move happening and are not able to close up fast enough as well. So we'll turn our attention to Brett Loxton. What can he do on the run? It's not quite good enough, but he will have a slipstream as well. So maybe, just maybe, he can make something happen at the end of the straight. Closing and closing and closing, but it's not going to be enough. Guy Lynch feels he has to go defensive, but probably could have got away with just sticking on line at the moment, as Harlow is still fighting around into Sunset Bend now across the start-finish line. Now these guys have 3 laps to go, so even more action just waiting in the next few laps. There's a big dive bomb down to the inside, so late on the brakes, and Harley has to give him room. There's almost no room given at all. Contact is made, and these two continuing just to play for keeps, and they're just damaging their cars so much at the moment that by the end of this race, they might have to Nigel Mansell it and just push the car across the line, or what's left of it. So there's almost another bump from Harley Haber, who's just diving into these corners now, and he's not even going for the apex anymore. I think he's just going for the back bumper.
Yeah, I think he's found his heat signature, and he is locked and loaded and not focusing on anything other than the big yellow rear of the car of Jackson Harlow up ahead of him, and he is driving a little less good. Very eloquent use of words there from myself, but he's definitely driving less good than he was before, having gotten onto the back. But Ethan Griggold has now really worked himself back onto the rear of Wayne Burke, and he's going to try once again, but just a little bit too far back this time, as they're coming up to Sunset Bend. He's got 2 more opportunities after this one, but we've just been told by our technical delegate as well that we should not forget that Sam Blacklock, while this has all been going on, has been slowly chipping away at these guys. Last time it wasn't exactly chipping, it was 0.7 of a second, and Ethan Griggold is now going to have Sam Blacklock to contend with in a lap if these guys don't pick up the pace or calm it down.
Yeah, they will, because it's now down underneath 0.3 of a second with just 2 laps to go. And I've got a feeling at a few places around this track, the gap's going to come down a lot lower than just 0.3 of a second, as Haber and Harlow continuing just to completely knock each other's mirrors off. Well, they must have got more mirrors in the pit stop, because I can assure you they were not there after their scrap earlier in the race. They're not going to be there at the checkered flag either, I don't feel, as they head into turn number 1, and all of a sudden, Haber's going to get to the back of Harlow there. Just about missed him by complete millimeters there, but this is getting so personal now. You can see Harlow already defending where he would normally not. Haber throws it around the outside, and he's making it stick at the moment. The car's still there, side by side through the slowest section of the corners, but he's making it happen. If he can get a good run here, he has the best shot into the hairpin, and he's managed it. So great run from Harley Haber, side by side through this straight, which is not even slightly straight. but he's going to clear him potentially even before they get to the braking zone. But look at Harlow immediately trying to get the inside. Haber has to go all the way to the inside to try and defend. And by doing that, he's on the dirty line, struggles to pull the car up a little bit, but actually manages it perfectly. So real-world experience helping Haber out just a bit there to make him meet the apex where he needs to. But at the moment, this battle is incredible as we can't forget what's happening out front as we head to just 1.3 laps to go. Wayne Burke and Ethan Griggold.
And Sam Blacklock as well, because he is almost equally as close to Griggold as Griggold is close to Burke. So he's just got to find a little bit more performance in that car so that he can really take it to the guys up ahead. But right now, Wayne Burke is the man in the commanding position, and he is doing well to keep it there. And we keep on going back to these guys because Harlow and Haber, once again, these guys just do not stop. And Harlow now having to go on the offensive and try and get his way back past Harley Haber, who has gotten past, but doesn't look like he's quite got the run as they come into Sunset Bend. But we are now with the leaders, and we will stick with them for this final lap, because who will win this race? Will it be Wayne Burke? Will it be Ethan Griggold? Or will these guys cross each other up and get Sam Blacklock involved? Let's find out. Ethan Griggold with a fantastic final run out of that last corner, and he's going to have a run down into the hairpin here. We are on board with Ethan Griggold. Is he going to go left? Is he going to go right? Wayne Burke covers the inside. He's going to force Ethan to go the long way round. Ethan just plays a little bit more cautiously. He's going to try and get the nice run. A little bit of a nudge there on Wayne Burke. Sam Blacklock sitting behind these two, licking his lips, waiting for something to go wrong so that he can make his way past. But Ethan Griggold just hustling on Wayne Burke a little bit more, getting very close once again, but just not close enough to have a nibble at that first place. And he's only got a handful more corners now to do it, and only really one or two opportunities. But Harlow and Haber once again are just absolutely going for it. These guys will not give up, much as our leaders will not, to the checkered flag. But it looks like if Wayne has enough fuel in the tank, and last time we were here, Bo, I think you'll recall Sam Blacklock ran out of fuel coming across the line. We could have a similar situation here because both of these guys have been fuel saving. They've only got one corner to go. Can Ethan Griggold get up close enough? Can he do it? Can he get the great race down to the line as they come into the corner? He's got some good overspeed. He's going for a bit of a lunge, not quite close enough to make it work. He's going to hold a tight line, which is not going to give him good exit speed. And it has been a fantastic battle up at the front. But Wayne Burke takes out the Monday night strength of field race ahead of Ethan Griggold and Sam Blacklock.
Absolutely fantastic racing as it's not over. As you can see, Harley Haber, well, they've been just about this close the entire race. They're side by side at the moment. They're battling all the way to the wall as well, almost in the wall, knocking the mirrors off on the concrete up the inside, on the brakes in a Sunset Bend. That's all too easy to cross over as he's sideways on the brakes, on the rears, just completely struggling for grip. The Dunlops have nothing left. It's going to be a drag race. It's only fitting all the way to the line. And who's going to get it? It's millimeter stuff, and Harlow all of a sudden has disappeared on my screen. Was that a little bit of concrete? He got it. Fantastic by a tenth and a half in the end. So just a little bit too close for like. It was also close between the likes of McKnight and Bloxton across the line as well. This entire field has been fantastic all race long. Zach Baker and Craig Jones, one of the closest fights to the flag as well. They're trying to make something happen. Not enough for Craig Jones to make a pass happen. And that might just be about it, as it looks like everyone else just a little bit too far back. As Damon Mulqueen, quite close at the moment, looks to the inside of Mario Vlasic, not able to make it happen just yet. Vlasic hooks up the apex as well, but needs to make sure he gets the traction out of Sunset Bend nice and easy, and he looks to do that. And it will be Vlasic who will take 28th spot in the end. Damon Mulqueen will have to settle for 29th, but there was still a battle for 29th. There was a battle for first. There was battles everywhere, Zach.
Yeah. I'm kind of just a bit blown away by that whole race. That was absolutely fantastic. I mean, we've had some races that have been pretty high velocity, high energy, high everything, but that was really just taking it to another level there. And I think we'll be glad that we don't have a weighing bridge for these guys, because we might see a bit of Formula One Royal Rumble if we did. But we will not take away from the winner of tonight's race, Wayne Burke, who started position number 3 and came out on top ahead of Evolution Racing Team's Ethan Grigg Gold and Sam Blacklock, our championship elect, came home on the final step of the podium for P number 3. A very respectable effort from all 3 of those drivers, and thank you to them for putting on such a great show. Jordan Ross also did a good job to move himself up into 4th. Chris Coxhead put on I believe that's a season best performance up there in 5th, so a great job from him. Sam Sutton finished in 6th. Cooper Webster suffering a pit lane speeding penalty, and if you took that penalty out of his time, he would have only just been about 2 seconds off the leaders. And I think with a little bit of extra enthusiasm, he probably could have made that gap a little less. So hopefully Cooper can hold up on the mistakes for next time. Ross Rizzo came home P number 8. Jackson Harlow, Harley Haber, one of the great battles of the race, and they came home in 9th and 10th respectively.
Guy Leach will end up finishing in position number 11, only just ahead of Jamie Knight and Brett Loxton, who are only separated by just over a tenth across the start-finish line, as so were many cars, including the likes of Brian Borg and Carl Stokes for 14th and 15th, less than a tenth for those two across the line, with Mitch McLeod a little bit lonely, about 7.5 seconds back in 16th, with Brett Cananzi, who spent more time sideways with opposite lock than actually going in a straight line in that race, in 17th. Christian Smar and Kurt Stenberg 18th and 19th respectively, with Michael Taliasis rounding out the top 20.
And then we had Zach Baker in position number 21. Craig Jones came home in 22. And I think Zach actually ran out of fuel coming over the line, because he only just managed to beat Craig in that drag race there. Greg Sharp came home in 23rd position. Jacob Knight in 24th. Stephen Varga in 25th position. Mihail Latishov in 26th. Martin Silvastli, a bit of a troubling race for him, finished in 27th position, as was it for Mario Vlasic as well, who finished in 28th. Damon Mulqueen, first time for Synergy Sin Racing in the top split for him. Not probably the result he would have wanted, but he was car number 32, so P number 29. Definitely not as bad as it could have been. And we had some non-finishers this evening. David Miller, 7 laps down. Chris D'Angelo, I believe that's 11 laps down. And Thomas McMillan getting shuffled around a fair few times. Sometimes his own fault, other times not. Unfortunately for him, he hit the incident limit too early and was unable to finish the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sebring track definitely bought bits and drivers once again, as it was a very tough race, not just for the track and the car combo, but for the drivers themselves. So much great battling throughout the race, which was fantastic to see. And well, here at SimSpeed TV on the iRacing Esports Network, we have even more of it coming this week, because Zach, on Wednesday night, we saw how exciting the GT3 series was at Bathurst. The championship finale went right down to the wire. This week, though, the Porsches take on the mountain.
Yeah, and the Porsche Super Cup Series has been another one of those fantastic series as well. Tons of great drivers, very good racing, and the cars are so much fun to drive. You do get some really fantastic racing out of it. And to take on the mountain is going to be a challenge for anyone who attempts it. So good luck to all of them, but I'm sure that they will be putting on a fantastic show, as they always do.
Yeah, absolutely. They always do. And so does the LeBlanc Australian Online Supercar Series. That won't be on the iRacing Esports Network. That will be on the SimSpeeds YouTube channel. So be sure to check that out. For 150 kilometers at Zandvoort, round number 14 of that series, which has been a fantastic watch all season long. And the next series, which I'll also get you to talk about just a little bit, Zach. Of course, we don't know too many of the details. It's been kept a little bit private from all of us as well. But on Sunday night, the Aussie Driver Search Sim to Supercar special event, where one lucky driver who will be graded on all kinds of things, from media, how you talk to the media. Of course, that will be the commentators on the night, which I'm not going to tell you just yet, but we should have someone pretty special lined up as well. And of course, how you compete in races. And it's not just finishing position, how you compete with others, the racecraft, and also how you represent yourself on track. Zach, Aussie Driver Search, it's been a fantastic initiative.
Yeah, and I've actually been lucky enough to be involved with the Aussie Driver Search guys as well. I paid $30 for a sim they had a sim competition down at Phillip Island. I got to drive a V8 Ute in at Phillip Island late this year, and now subsequently I'm going to be driving an Audi R8 GT3 car at some point next year. So these guys deliver on their promises, and they have a fantastic fleet of cars. And I was out there; they were not holding me back. They were saying, go as fast as you want to go, and it's a really, really excellent opportunity for anyone, especially us in the sim racing community, where there are so many guys who evidently have some good speed. It's an excellent opportunity to get a run in the finals at the Aussie Driver Search finals, and try and get yourself into a real drive, because I think there's a lot of people in our community who definitely have the ability to do it. And hopefully we will be seeing someone at the final, and we'll see how they go. But it's going to be a great night of racing. Few weird little track combos with car track combos, which will be very fun to watch, I'm sure.
Yeah, it will be, and I'm definitely not too jealous that you get to drive an Audi R8. And no, I'm not crying. I swear it's hay fever. But of course, on Monday night, we also have the next round, round number 10 of the Monday Night Official Series Championship, which takes place at a slightly unique circuit. It's going to be Zolder once again, but not the full layout. It's the national layout. So 30 laps there at Zandvoort should be a pretty interesting watch as well. This championship continues to get a bit more interesting, but Brett Loxton just needs a little bit more to challenge Sam Blacklock, who walks away with another great result. But it's never over until the very last rounds. But we're not at the last rounds yet, because we are only finishing round number 9. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much to Zach Hanlon for joining me in the commentary booth, and of course, Mr. Scott Fountain for another great broadcast. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, and of course, Sim Speed TV for the broadcast. We will see you next time at Zandvoort for the Monday Night Official Series, but until then, we'll catch you next time.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.